Ready? Feeling good?
Yes, I'm good. Yes.
Niggas was already going. And you clicked. Y'all hate me for real. Because one thing about them, they going to record before I even get ready.
Yes.
I said, you good? Yep. Great. Niggas. In 3. And welcome back to another episode of Keeping It a Bean. Keeping It a Bean is a podcast that brings together conversation and commentary all over a cup of coffee. But y'all know we be recording late at night, so we have some tea.
Yes.
Thank you. If you are watching this here podcast, that means you're looking at two very lovely faces and a familiar face, period.
Yes.
So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know every single time a new episode drops. Please and thank you. But not only that, if we are your favorite Monday morning listens, please make sure to also subscribe to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave us a rate and review. Give us 5 stars.
5.
Thank you. Tell us what you like about the episode, because guess what? I found out that you and I show up on people's algorithms at the same time.
Isn't it so lit?
Yes, they looked and they said, "Oh, other podcasts you might listen to, East your heart out."
Yes,
and I said,
yes,
wait.
Yes. It's me and you. It's me and you. We got our uniform shirts on because we got. We do this together.
We do this together. We go together real bad. Period. But seriously, like I thought that was so dope when they said, "Oh, other podcasts that your listeners are most likely listening to," and I didn't realize how much of my audience went to you.
Yes.
Like,
same, people love you. They love you so much. So yes,
Yeah, and you are definitely a fan favorite episode. I ain't even gonna hold because they have so much fun. Like they like our banter back and forth.
Yes.
And so it was really dope even seeing like the analytics from your episode on my show. I said, well, shit, man.
Yeah. Listen, we twins at this point. That's my twin. That's how we tell them. Like,
I'll be living for it. And so I'm really, really excited for today's conversation because they already got to know you, which means we just get to chill back. It don't got to be no intro, no nothing. We get to just talk some shit.
Yes.
And enjoy. And so if you're new here, my name is Marquise, Marquise Davon. Don't ever call me Mark in your life. You already know what the deal is. However, if you're returning, hello to niggas and niggas only. I appreciate y'all coming back. If you want to support this podcast monetarily, you can do so in a couple of ways. If you want to hire me to do a workshop wherever you're at, I can do that. I like to moderate panels. I can speak on a panel. If you want to talk around masculinity, SEL, education, social justice, prison abolition, any of the things, I might be your guy. Come holler at me.
Yes.
However, if you're also a coffee drinker, come support this black business and don't support Target.
That's a period right there.
That's a period. You can buy Leroy's, which is a luxury black-owned coffee, ethically sourced from Guatemala. So if you are just like, hey, I want to do something other than Dunkin' or I want to do something other than Folgers, come hang out.
Yes.
It's a good time. And remember, every single time you buy a bag of Leroy's, you also are donating at least $1 to an HBCU scholarship fund, and you are supporting BVP Coffee. So please make sure you continue to do so. I appreciate y'all. Thanks.
I love that.
Yes. But Ish, welcome back.
Thank you for having me come back. I'm excited to be here.
Honestly, same. I could not wait.
I'm so hyped. Marquise, first of all, you do so many great things for me. You don't understand. So tomorrow I have an interview for Word Radio.
Oh.
To have a show.
Shut up.
Yes. All because of you. Yes, all because of you. Yes, so I have not told my soulies or nobody yet. I was going to just like sneak it in there, but I know this episode isn't coming out tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll have the interview by then. So, wish me luck. Pray for me. All the good stuff. Yeah, so yeah, I'm excited for it.
Congratulations.
Yes.
What?
So, let's see how this works out.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm so happy that connection. That
I
just made my whole heart.
No, I'm telling you, you're amazing. Yeah.
Wow. But that's part of like what I wanted to talk to you about today as well. Honestly, it's been so interesting. I've been like having this moment of reflecting on being like in this content creator space, but more specifically like the black podcasting space too. And so I was at a podcast mixer in Philly probably like 2.5, maybe 3 months ago.
Okay.
And I walked into the room. It was me and shout out to Marquise from King Status Podcast.
I love him.
Yeah.
He did my pod. I
loved your
love him.
episode.
Oh my gosh. Like, he's an amazing person.
When I tell you, I just really be so hyped. When I said I love like the cross podcast
all because of you.
coalition happening,
Yes.
we're doing it.
Yes.
But it was interesting because it was like me and Marcus in the room, probably 2 or 3, so a total of about 5 or 6 black podcasters in a sea of like white podcasters that I was just like, I have no idea. I didn't know y'all existed. I'm
Yes.
not gonna lie.
Yes.
And they were in their full force. But I'm like, this is like an industry night level event. Like we have people who are experts. We have people who run networks. We are people. These are people who are doing the thing. And in that moment, I had this moment of just being like, dog, we're not invited to these spaces.
No.
And so I had asked the question, and I was like, our white counterparts are getting ad space much faster. They are able to acquire things even if they don't have the same amount of reach as us, especially being in Philly, which is a majority black city. When you're thinking around everybody who knows somebody who does podcasting, there are so many of us who are leading in the culture.
Yes.
And so I found it interesting. So I'm having like this moment with Marcus, and I'm like, dog, it don't make sense. So I had asked a question, and one of the people came up to me after the question was asked, because, you know, when you ask the question, it says, so we don't get as many opportunities as our white counterparts. Is there anything that you would like advise for black podcasters, this, that, and the third? They kind of all gave me like these
generic answers.
As they were.
Right.
I shouldn't have been surprised. But another person came up to me and was just like, you realize, like, as a black podcaster, you already have a strike against you.
Oh,
100%. I said, that's very clear. I said, however, nobody on that stage was able to acknowledge, like, what support can look like in this moment, or what does it mean to do a little bit more of your due diligence on, like, here are the people that you should be in the room with.
Yes.
And so for me, it was like interesting because I had realized lately, like, I know right now there's a big thing happening with influencers here in Philly right now with the controversy that's going on with Brand Flakes and how people are getting credit, how he got credited over another black content creator. And like, what does it mean to center white creators but not give black creators the same thing? Because he made over 6 figures off of deals alone, where it's like we are struggling to like capture one deal.
But you know something? Let me say this. White people don't do anything for free. They don't start a podcast for free. You know what we do? We give all our good content out for free. We're going to just get on here and be like, I just want to talk. I just want to be with my friends and hang out. Put me on camera, because we are naturally creative, right?
Yeah.
But like other cultures don't have what we have. Like we have like the ability to be just funny, like funny and just regular. But I have a studio. In my studio, Good Boy Comedy. It's a white white podcaster, white producer. They make thousands of dollars on the Patreon every single month.
Wow.
They have about 1,000 Instagram followers.
Wow.
So it don't add up. I have like 30,000 followers on. I have like 50,000 followers
Quite
total
literally.
with social media. Learn, I know has 130,000 followers on Instagram, right? But our Patreons ain't doing nowhere near that, you know, because we were willing to give our content out for free. What they do is they put an episode out, an hour episode, and they're going to cut 30 minutes in, right when they start talking about some good stuff, and be like, pay for the rest of it.
Wow.
And then people can go and they're going to pay for it.
Right.
Whether it's $2, $3, but they got 100 Patreon subscribers or 200, they don't do things for free. So I feel like for us, we have to stop doing everything for free. But the reason why we do is because people won't support you if it's not free sometimes.
And that's
know?
that's such a hard balance. I think I realized as a creative is like, sometimes, like, what are people willing to pay for?
Yes.
And oftentimes for us, I was like, we need proof of concept before people can invest in our potential. And 100%. I was like, and that's the part that was like cooking me, because I like had this moment a little bit ago where I was just like, I can't be one of the few black podcasters that you know in this space.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting invited to some of these other events, some more of these industry level events, and I'm like, granted, I'm grateful that you follow me in the work that I do. Right. However, in my brain, I'm like, there's no reason you're not being invited and you're on the email list. There's no reason Larry and Lionel's not. There's no reason Marcus isn't. JJ from the Winners Culture. Yes. Like, there are so many different black podcasters who are getting, one, dope guests.
Yes.
But for me, I'm looking at y'all. I'm just like, y'all are doing multi-city tours.
Yep.
Like, y'all, like, to me, I'm just like, we are doing the thing. But oftentimes what I had realized more and more is, as black podcasters, though we may not have, they might not give us all the credit digitally.
Right.
When we have our live events, our people show up. Out.
They show up. They don't mind doing anything. But what's happening is I feel like my ex-husband is a part of, he has a white podcast. So it's him and 2 white boys who do a podcast. Yeah. A white guy and a Jew. And they always call each other like those 3. And they got crazy followers, but paid Patreon followers. They don't care about Instagram at all. So, and I tell you these things because even myself, I don't want to not give my content out for free.
Right.
You know, so I feel like we're just doing different things, different ways. But back to what you were saying, we have a double whammy against us. Not only is black people not willing to kind of follow us or support us if we don't show proof of content, we're also in Philly where Philly, they like, you dick eating. I can't be like supporting you too much now. I'm dick eating. So it's kind of like I'm losing, whether it's Atlanta put a article out about me. But it's Atlanta. I'm not even from Atlanta.
And y'all, they ate on that article, though. I ain't going to hold. You better be the rising star. Stop playing with it.
But why wasn't that in Philly?
Right.
Why isn't Philly giving me my due diligence? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things. It's like we're in a place, not only are we black, but, we're in Philly where it's like we don't get the support that we need and we deserve. And we deserve it because we have a voice and we're saying things. Like, there's nothing wrong with supporting your people, So.
Yeah. And I had realized, I think the environment, because it's funny, I still feel like Philly is a place where people will watch you, but they won't tell you that they're watching you. They won't even share the fact that they're watching you. And I said, Philly, y'all are different.
No. You have a napkin? I'm sorry, y'all.
You are all good. Can you grab one, John?
Yeah.
And they said,
Yes.
You are all good.
But anyway, we can keep talking.
Oh, you're good. However, I had realized, and I was telling you off camera, going to LA was such an affirming moment for me because there were so many people who came up to me and were just like, good morning to niggas and niggas only. Thank you for the work that you do. I love your podcast. I love this, that, and the third. And I had sat there and I was just like, oh, my reach is very much so beyond. And it had to remind me back to a moment I had years ago, back in 2021 in New Orleans, when I went to a random spot and the waiter said, I don't want to be weird, but are you Marquise?
I love that. But like you said, people in Philly will just see you and not say anything.
Yeah.
But when I'm out of town, people give me they, hey, Ish, how you doing?
Right.
People in Philly, they did me I saw you at the store. You be like,
wait,
hi.
Now I gotta keep my head on a swivel. What?
Yeah. So yeah.
That's so.
I'm proud of you. LA is a whole different circuit. Thank you so much. LA is a whole different circuit for any kind of entertainment. Yeah. Yeah. You enjoyed yourself?
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I said, oh, this is am I sitting with Black Hollywood right now? I said, this is a little different. No, but I was so serious.
And y'all look so beautiful, too.
Thank you.
I love seeing people get all dressed up and, have some fun. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's sweet because it made me excited because something I had realized was, now I don't know the inner workings, but from the outside looking in, it's such an ecosystem of people that are able to pour into each other on a much more regular basis. You said that damn light.
So annoying.
But not only that, it's something I had realized, I've been really appreciating being able to share space with, you, Lair, Lionel, Marcus, JJ, all these different podcasters, specifically black podcasters, because I think there's one thing around, being a black influencer. I think that's a different world. But I think our world is so specific because we need to, be able to kind of build this thing. So now they can associate.
Yes.
Oh, if you like Marquise, you're probably going to like Ish. Oh, if you like what JJ's doing, you're probably like what Jay Farrow's doing, right? There's a different kind of space that's happening. And so I'm even, more intrigued to even hear a little bit more about your thoughts on, when do you feel or do you feel like you finally arrived in this black podcasting space where people are everything makes sense?
Absolutely not. I feel like I have so many more stairs to climb. I feel like I'm doing everything I should do, but I always feel like it's not enough. And I feel like that kind of makes me feel like I'm on the right path because if I'm content, then what more can I do? Right. So I want to continue to push myself and want more, and I'm trying to find the right door because I have a sex podcast. It's so hard because some people will look at you like, oh, you're just a freak. And you're like, no, I'm not really talking about how to have sex or giving you advice. I'm talking about my sexual and dating experiences from my past that I laugh at now and I find humor in it. So my podcast is one of those weird podcasts that is kind of I'm trying to find the right path, the right advertisement. I don't want to just be like, buy a dildo, y'all, get 10% off.
What am I supposed to do?
It's more to me. I have a college degree. I was married. I did all these other things. But people like that. I'm just funny with it, So I'm trying to find my path. And no, I don't feel like I arrived just yet. But I do feel like I arrived very quickly on the podcast, circuit kind of. When I started, it kind of blew up kind of quickly. But I appreciate everything. I appreciate you the most out of most podcasters in the city because you are literally the glue. From every podcast that I've met so many people who had so many opportunities from you, and we appreciate you. Laura appreciate you. We touch you all the time. When we have anything special, we gotta give Marquise a vibe because you know how to talk to everybody. You could have been like, I have a podcast, but your podcast too freaky. I don't want you, but you don't treat me like that. You like, I know you got more into it, you know, because you like Marquise Davon. Like, it's like different. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I love you though.
But thank you first and foremost. I received that all. But in all honesty, I'm just like, I think there is such a beauty in the stories that y'all tell. Like I love watching y'all show because I'm just like, I look forward to when your episodes come out.
Oh yeah.
Because it's also one, it's kind of like my little informal check-in, just being like, oh, Isha's good. Okay, period. She having a good conversation. Yeah. But like y'all bring me so much joy in the airwaves too. But I'm like, it's the thing that I believe is even more important in this time right now. It's just like, we need so many different pockets of, hey, here's an informative podcast you can go to, but here's something that can just be like, let's have some levity.
Yes.
Let's have some joy.
Let your hair down. Take your bra off it. Like, I mean, like, get comfortable and kind of like laugh a little bit. And then Marquise, you gonna think what's really going on in the world, and I'm gonna laugh at what I had going on in my life in the past. Like,
Quite
so
literally.
Why not just kind of like, you know, follow all of us.
Yeah, no, seriously. Oh,
Do you ever feel like the urge to kind of lean into what they think the podcast is about when you tell them that it's about sex and relationships? Like, do you ever feel the need to like, oh, I could get more views, more attention if I lean into like just crazier sex stories, or like not really giving the audience much to like learn from or like to improve upon?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, honestly, it's the opposite way. So sometimes when I get too much feedback, because like I've had clips that went like viral, that didn't want to go viral. I'm like, I want to just put something out today, and then people be like, share. I'm like, stop sharing this shit. Like, I didn't want to put this out there, you know. Like, but and then people will come and they'll say like crazy things to me, right? And I'm like, maybe because I have a son, and I'm like, maybe I should kind of switch it up because I got a son. I want people to like give it to my son. He's blocked, but you know, he don't have a podcast, you know. So I kind of want to switch it up sometimes to kind of bring it down a little bit, you know, and not be as now I ain't gonna say I'm nasty, but I ain't Miss Jackson. But you know what I'm saying? Like I ain't gonna say I'm like that, but kind of like when I talk without a like you know, I'm like Kanye West, like emphasis. I'm all like you know, all dramatic, like. You know? So I think people like that part about it, but I had to realize like no matter what I was saying. Just a side note, I watched this documentary about Jerry Springer, and his producer said, "You want to make like content where if somebody was scrolling by it or hitting the remote and it was muted, that you'd be like, what the hell is that? You want to go back because your body language is showing that this is a good time here. Come here and watch me here, but it's muted. You can't even see it. So you get what I'm saying? So I feel like people just like me being dramatic like this. So I try to like bring the stories down a little bit, but still have a lot of like personality with it. Like so, kind of like. You get what I'm saying. I can go on and on.
That was actually a really good. You had a follow-up?
Really good question.
No.
Yeah.
Good question.
But I actually really enjoyed that question because it's also, especially in your response too, it's you try to also balance this piece out of just like, oh, can my podcast impact my son? Does this look a little different in terms of that too? And I think that's something that I think even us as podcasters, we're on a platform that it's us. Yeah. Like you were getting our thoughts, you were getting our words.
Yes.
It's not like I can leave it up for interpretation as a musician. I can't leave it up as an actor and say I got into a character.
I really said it.
I said it and I stand on business. I said it and I meant it.
And I'm a girl, right? And I feel like I can go and have like 100,000, 200,000 followers quickly because all I can do is get naked. Most girls just get naked, start posting bikini pics, and they be like, "Oh, everybody want to follow you," but I'm not doing it. I have some integrity. You get what I'm saying?
Out that
would do it,
or something like that, or tell a crazy story,
right?
Give
just
the
for attention.
Nothing else,
And it's like I don't want to do that. And there's women out here that's and you know, and I love everybody who will do all that for the looks, and it's kind of like, and they have kids. And it's kind of like. Me and you are different. I don't want to do too much, and I have a child. You get what I'm saying? I want to make sure. As he get older and my legacy, because I want to leave a huge legacy, of course, he can look back and be proud of it somehow, some way, you know. And I'm like, my mom is talking about sex all the time, you know, like. But I don't want to. It's ways you can be very popular, and sometimes you got to take the other road. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, that's really dope.
Are you thinking about branching out? Because you said that you've been trying to tone down the stories, but focus more on like your funny taste and your energy and how you make your guests feel. So like, is there anything that you would want to talk about down the road that isn't like sex and relationships?
Marquise gonna kill me, right? So listen,
what?
I was.
What am I doing? Let's get into it.
Okay, closer. I got caught into I got stuck in this like tunnel where I felt like white podcasters make more money than black podcasters, and I'm putting my time and energy into this. I'm gonna be paid how to getting paid. So I even thought about doing a podcast with a white guy, just for the better look.
Child,
and it was gonna be a true crime podcast. You know what? And I felt like it would be good.
I feel like that
because you know what I'm saying? Because you want to cross over, because I know a lot of the white celebrities because my ex-husband does comedy and he has a podcast and he's really big on the white side. Like, he love him. He wasn't funny to me, but I told you he's funny now somehow. But that's their opinion, and they pay that man, so I ain't hating on him.
Look, I said, you know what?
Because of that, he travels all over, and we go like Shane Gillis is this big, huge comedian, right? That's his best friend.
Yeah.
So those things is like, I get guests like that on my podcast. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like sometimes as a black woman, I have to cross over because I want to get paid.
No, I think it's very real. And honestly, it's not going to be the first time like something like that has happened. Like, even on my end, as my podcast started to grow, and especially like towards the height of the pandemic and like becoming a much more informational based podcast, someone told me off rip, they were like, Marquise, I think you need a light skinned counterpart to make you. They said,
I don't need that.
I said, yo, I swear. I said, I'm not even, like, can I be critical? Yes. But I said, for the most part, I'm a good time. Like,
you are. 100%.
But it's so interesting to me because for them, they were just like, right now, like, colorism worked against me in that moment where they were like, oh, I think if you have a light-skinned counterpart who can, like, balance you out, it makes your show a lot more palatable. But to hear that from another black person who could potentially have been, like, a sponsor has been like, hey, like, if you go this route, it might actually seem. And I sat there, I said, I did not just become a victim of colorism in the industry.
Let me write this down about this shit.
Yeah, we can go get this money. Get up there.
Kavan, please. Now you want to be light skinned today. Any other time, Kavan be like, in my mind, I'm a 6'2" dreadhead, nonchalant dreadhead, dark skin.
We love it. We love it for you.
Someone more like YN, but go off, King.
You don't need that. I felt the same way when I first started my podcast. But I told you prior, I never wanted to start a podcast because I speak quick. I get excited. I'm talking fast. I'm doing all this extra stuff. People like that. I have a community of people who just love that about me. Like, girl, you talk fast, so we understand you, girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that matters. But I wanted to start when Laura was like, started. I said, I need a co-host. She's like, Ish, by yourself is great. People who just like you. I'm like, no way. I'm gonna find me a light skinned man. That's what I said, because I felt like seeing this dark skinned woman, you want somebody else, you want to kind of grab all eyes, but no, like, we can do it. We're beautiful. Our melanin, our pop on this light. Like, we don't need nobody else for us. Like,
with us.
No.
But I think it's interesting because that's so much of like what we hear industry people go through. The music industry is just like, oh, if you are light skinned or racially ambiguous, like, you can cross over because you seem much more palatable.
Yes.
But to be unambiguously black, that's the spot that becomes a little bit more difficult for people to want to like buy into you.
Look at Dolce. Come on, this is a dark skin, unapologetic lady. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can do it. Maybe back in the day, or not even back in the day, maybe a few years ago, we needed like someone that can.
Right. But in my mind, I said, but I think it's like the negotiations, because even for us as podcasters, we are. Like, we make money in different ways.
Yes.
Like, yes, there are some spaces of, like, Patreon can do the thing.
Right.
But even for me, I had realized, like, the majority of my money has come from live shows. The majority of my money has come from my merch. And, like, that's the reality of where podcasting is at until the ad dollars then follow.
Yes.
But oftentimes, like I said, at that podcasting event, I sat there, I was just like, y'all don't even look to, y'all don't look to us. Unless it is a podcast that is talking around gossip and mess with a celebrity attached to it, you don't find the value in us being able to cultivate audience. Because the reality is, I said, and I was explaining to somebody, I was like, though my podcast may have 7,000 listeners, I know at least I can get 1,000 of them to buy something. So if each of my people would buy, essentially, if I can get 1,000 people to buy my stuff, and then even if the people who are going to buy something without me ever having to sell it, I said I can sell, those mugs can sell out.
Yes, for sure, 100%.
In a little bit of time.
Yep.
But I was like, that's the power of just like, my audience will buy if I have 100 early adopters in my audience. So no matter what goes out, they're going to listen the very first time. As soon as I publish, they're the first 100 to listen.
Yep.
They are the first 100 to buy a ticket. They are the first 100 to be like, what does Marquise have coming next? And there's value in cultivating those early adopters first and foremost. and then being able to branch out. Because I said, yeah, you can have a bunch of people who know who's listening.
Yeah.
But how many people are going to convert to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell everybody, if you don't have a big Instagram following, it doesn't matter. It's Spotify. What's your Spotify numbers looking like? Who's downloading your things? Who's emailing you like, Ish, episode coming out tomorrow? Because they're going to email me, sorry, y'all, because I don't have an episode coming out tomorrow. It's the first time in almost 2 years I have an episode coming out like on a weekly basis. But because, I never recording Tuesday nights as well. Yeah. But I came here, of course. And we have an Atlanta show coming up. So I'm like, I got to get my life together. But yeah, you want to be able to like hone in on those people who love you, who's always there for you, and like you said, it's money in so many different things you can do. And I absolutely hate live shows.
You hate live shows?
Oh my gosh.
What? And you be eating them up? When I tell y'all, Ish is so fun on stage. Like, she is so fun on stage.
No, oh my gosh. Live shows are hard because one, if it's your live show, you gotta count tickets. And people buying tickets, black people buy tickets at the last minute.
Yo.
So
waiting up until the last day.
Yes, anxiety.
I said, are people gonna show up?
Yes. So it's always like that. We had sold out Pie Nation.
Yeah.
Sold it out. I tell y'all, it started at like 8 o'clock. People didn't come to like 9 o'clock. You like, you bought a ticket, just get here on time. So we had to stop the whole show, bring it back. I remember. So it's live shows is very it's cringy for me. But when I hit the stage, I love it. But you gotta have the right crowd. Yeah. You gotta have the people that really want to see you
are they gonna talk back to you?
Yeah.
Are they gonna interact?
Are they shy on the first date? You like so it's kind of like one of those things. Like I have to like go home tonight and write a whole set because I'm opening up for Learn Lionel on Thursday night. Come to Atlanta, y'all. If you ain't doing nothing, come to Atlanta. I don't know.
Oh, look, I got an Atlanta crowd. Stop playing. Come on.
Come to Atlanta on the 27th. I'm like the worst when it comes to dates. The 27th? Yes, I think
Friday?
so. It's Saturday. It's Wednesday. Thursday. It's Thursday. The 27th, right? What day is that?
Oh, it is. No, it is the 27th. You're right. You're
okay,
right.
all right.
Yeah.
27th. I'm
the
worst.
I said, hold on.
Yes. Thursday night we'll be in Atlanta. Learn Lionel. Go and find your tickets on Eat Your Heart Out page. Learn Lionel page. We'll be there on Thursday night. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm gonna fly in on Thursday morning. Come back home Friday morning. I'm not playing games.
Look, that's valid because I get it. I said quick bop situation. Yo, that is so funny. And for me, I think live shows are so funny because this season of live shows for 2025 is in conjunction with my coffee launch.
I love that.
And so it's been really interesting because it's like it's a live show. And our previous guest, Imani, was talking around like, what did she say? Sober curious events. And so what does it mean to have an event that doesn't surround with surrounded with liquor?
Yes.
And so for mine, I said, oh, you're doing a coffee tasting. I said, so they get a coffee tasting, but they also get to sit down and listen to a conversation, which will then lead into a workshops. And so like it's a Sunday afternoon of just like enjoying stuff. Now I know I'm competing with brunch and I'm competing with church.
That's a good thing.
And it's a good time. Yeah. But the people who are there, they are like actively engaged. They are learning. There are vendors there who can like sell their product and stuff, which is like super cool. But that's the part of the live show that I really enjoy because I was like, I love the live shows and I do more of a panel style.
Right.
Because I get to sit as a moderator.
I love that.
And I think that has been like
it's a little bit easier too. Yeah.
I don't have to come up with ideas.
Yeah,
I'm asking you to answer for me. You're the expert.
Yes. I love that for you.
Yeah, but it's funny because I'm just like, I love like the pre-production stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have a team who can do like the production stuff. So shout out Kavon, shout out Daniel, shout out Chris, and shout out Chloe, who be getting my live show experience. I don't got to worry about social media. I don't have to worry about, and Cody. I don't have to worry about photography. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Daniel keeps the sound as crispy as ever. Kavon is the perfect production assistant. So if they're just like, Kavon, I forgot this thing. Can you go pick this up real quick? Thank you so much.
Yes, he is.
Like, awesome. 2 photographers and then 1 person who does like background social media content.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's like fun because I'm sitting there, I'm just like,
you have a real team because let me say about me, Learn Lionel. We all 3 of us, we do it all. Like literally, like we Larry does the photography and he does the video, and then Lionel used to do the audio. I do the audio now, and then I make the clips now. Yes, I do clips now. It's so much because Larry knows everything. He teaches everything. So when the shows come up, right? We're doing our own like marketing as far as making make all the flyers and he posts them and I'm posting. We doing content. Lionel start DJing. Larry take pictures. You know, I'm the moderator. We will do it all. We have Samaj, and I have a new person, Rashawn, who loves you so much. Rashawn is like the biggest like fan of yours. He's my new producer. But anyway, we do it all, and we don't have a team. Yeah, it's like we are the team, should I say?
Yeah.
So we're on stage, running back, trying to do other stuff. So you're lucky. Shout out to your team.
You know what? Nah, shout out to the team.
Yes.
But also kudos to y'all, because I don't think so often I think people don't know what we have to do to put on an event. Unless you are somebody who puts on an event.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It's a lot, because you're like, oh, now I'm on stage. Now I got to give to my audience. And now, but in the back of your mind, you're also probably looking out and be like, oh, that light's off.
Yes.
Oh, that's not working.
Sound is weird.
Oh,
yeah, you're like.
I hope my audio's recorded.
It's happened many a times.
Yeah. And so I think I love it too, because I'm just like, I'm happy to be able to have this conversation with you, because I think this gives people a little bit more into the insight of like podcasting, and when you are doing podcasts to scale, like to also build out to be an actual business in itself.
Exactly.
Especially being an independent podcast. And I think that's the thing that people often don't know about is like, there are some network podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they're able, like the Black Effect Network, Loudspeakers Network. There's a bunch of them, and you're just like, oh, you sell the network.
Yes.
And then that's where you can place, here's an ad going in your show here, here's this going here, here's this going here. But the amount of people who either do affiliates or based on this ad and how long and the placement, here's how much money we can give you.
Yep.
And so I think that space is interesting, because I'm just like, that's the benefit of a network. But when we are independent,
a total different. You know what I learned recently? I did a podcast, and I went on there, and we was talking. I was like, how did y'all meet? Like, and it was like, oh, we had auditions for the podcast. You came. It wasn't even a genuine podcast. It was someone hired these two people to do a podcast together, and I did not know that people were out here hiring people to do a podcast. This was maybe 2 years ago, but it still blew my mind, you know?
I agree.
Like, so
you're literally just coworkers.
Yes, and it's kind of like I always assumed that all podcasts was kind of like genuine friends, because Larry and I was friends. Me and Larry was friends. He brought me in and made me a podcast. So that's how our network began. Just some friends, you know, we trapping together.
Yeah,
like, you know
quite literally.
Like, literally. Like, so it was like to hear people like hire me, hire you. We got to be like, oh, got to find some chemistry.
Yep.
And let's
just
go
get
ahead
it. Hopefully we got it.
Yeah, you know, I think that was like weird. For the podcast networks, that's like just hiring people who don't kind of really have a genuine connection.
And you're selling a show. You're not necessarily like building something out together. And that has been an actual interesting piece to learn about a lot more, because you're just like, oh, y'all are actually like, you are good at making podcasts that make money.
Yes.
Like I look at somebody like Mandy from Horrible Decisions. I said, you're a podcast mogul. Like you legitimately can go from show to show to show to show, and it's going to sell nonetheless.
Yep.
And I was like, there's a specific kind of business acumen that I think comes with understanding like, here is the business of podcasting versus where we build out sometimes is a passion of podcasting, and then that's the approach feels vastly different.
Yes.
And so now we might not always be forward thinking like, oh, well, I need to name it this in order to get this amount of sponsors, in order to do this, and I'm going to have this co-host because this person's going to bring in this amount, and that's how we... But it's interesting because even learning around what some of the other industry things do, like I was listening to somebody on stage at that podcast event, they were like, oh, yeah, we do feed drops. I said, what is that?
Yeah, I want to know now.
A feed drop is essentially like, say, for example... I can sell you my audio to drop onto your show. Oh. And so if say this week you missed a week.
Yeah.
Hey, I couldn't make it Solis, but here's an interview I got to do on Keeping It a Bean podcast. So hopefully they listen to my show through your feed, and then they come back and go back to me.
I love that.
And so I'm sitting there, I was just like, hold on.
Yeah.
When we interview on each other's shows, we can just send each other the audio.
Yeah.
And then it's an easier way to introduce our audiences to each other.
I love that.
But I was like, oh.
Would you want to do that?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
But yeah.
Let's do it. Like, but I think it's a great idea, because a lot of times, like, people will be like, Ish, when would you on Marquise podcast? Because it's not, like, if it's a clip on my page, it falls down, of course, after a while. Yeah. It's not pinned. They can't find it. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So it's one of those things I had learned. I was just like, oh, if we have a podcast ecosystem going on each other's shows, now it's just a matter of like, oh.
Yeah, open the doors. Yes, I love that.
Yeah, so I realized NPR does it when they're just like, hey, listen to this next podcast on da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, this ain't even a part of the show. but
Can
it's
I
a
just
smart
say,
idea.
Philly podcasters that has no like, my man not an NBA player, or I'm not like, I don't know, Gilly's cousin or whatever, right? And we don't have like, we are even started before we started the podcast, and we just started from scratch. We have the hardest time. I think we struggle the most, but we have so much creativity from Philly. You understand? Because New York people, WTF Studios, they can get big guests on any podcast. You can have 25 followers, and you get a big guest because Mandy knows this person. She's like, hop on this podcast while you're here.
Try to,
You know, New York support each other way more than we do in Philly. That's why I just love you, Marquise, because you bring people together. I met Marcus King because of you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, meeting people through each other, but we don't have that connection. We can't be like, Wallow, come hop on our pod.
Right.
It don't work like that. You know what I mean? Like,
How
I don't
much
know.
you paying me?
You get what I'm saying?
I ain't coming to
like,
nobody's podcast for less than $10,000. What?
Yes. It was a Philly person that my ex-husband asked him on his pod. He was like, oh, yeah, it's $1,500. I'm not giving you $1,500 on my podcast. It's still a platform for you as well. You get what I'm saying? So it's one of those things I feel like in New York is different because they can get the big, like, guests. We don't have that option. I don't know about you, Marquise, but I don't think that we don't. I mean, people will ask on my pod, big guests, but everybody don't fit. They're asking to change my conversation. It's like, I'm not doing it.
And it's that piece right there. Yes. I think oftentimes so many people are just like, well, why would you bring this person onto the show, or can you come onto the show and completely switch up?
Yes.
And so I had realized, I was just like, oh, you want this to fit a very particular kind of way. And that's not, if you are coming into my space,
shouldn't do it.
You know what my show's about, but don't come onto I told somebody the other day, they were like, oh, well, Marquise, I feel like you should be having conversations around dating and stuff. I said,
that's not your lane.
I said, this is quite literally not my lane and has not been my lane.
No, and don't make it yours.
So I will talk to you after this.
Okay.
But I would love to do a roundtable of like a podcast insider, especially a Black independent podcast insider, in terms of like what this stuff can look like, because I think this is valuable information that I don't think a lot of people know.
Yes.
So I want to just quickly say, like, thank you so much for coming on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And again, like I said, it's not going to be the last time.
Yes.
It ain't ever going to be the last time.
No.
But thank you. I love you so much.
Thank
You're
you,
wonderful.
Marquise. Yes, I appreciate it. So.
Yes. And let the people know where they can find you before that battery
Eat
dies.
Your Heart Out. Yes, Eat Your Heart Out. Eat Your Heart Out. ESH Your Heart Out podcast. You can go and find me on Apple, Instagram, TikTok. I'll be on TikTok doing like Get Ready With Me Now.
I'll be here for it.
I'm here for it. So yeah, make sure you guys follow me. I landed on Thursday. Learn Lino Network. You can always find us anywhere. You just type it in, we pop up.
Period. Y'all, thank you for another episode of Keeping It a Bean. Thank you for closing out Women's History Month as well. So kudos to you. Thank you so much, y'all. I will see you next week. Peace.
Bye. That was good, Marquise.